Um, Hi, Tiffany. It's so nice to meet you. I'm Leia. I'm so excited to talk to you about this series. I want to just say that your performance in this is so good. I love like your character and everything. And one thing I really wanted to touch on about the show is how the sets, including like the houses and the buildings, play such like a large role into the mystery and how each of the siblings like interact with each other, and specifically your character and every character feels like a piece in a chess game, which there's such a huge emphasis on chess in the show. And so I wanted to know, like, when you guys, like the cast is kind of bouncing off of each other on set, how does like the sets kind of create your character's motivations and kind of carry your character's actions throughout the show?
Hmm. That's really interesting because we filmed on location in Chicago, and we really were in different locations like pretty much every day. We had a stage, but we were maybe on it, I don't know, a couple times for every 2 episode block, because we shot 2 episodes at a time. And yeah, that's a really interesting question. I do think it informs I do think it informs characters, obviously, to be able to kind of envision the world in which they live, right? Like getting to see those worlds come to life. Seeing the Chicago Tribune that Mariah's working in, which we're in an office building and you're literally looking out onto the actual Chicago Tribune. Like those sorts of things are really cool and just, help you to tell that truth. Um, or when it was January and single digit temperatures and the setting is outside and you're like, my motivation is get inside. Yeah.
No, yeah, I like all the big codes. I was just like, they're probably just so cold throughout this entire show. Another thing that I really loved about the show is kind of power dynamics between siblings and how power dynamics between siblings can even kind of shift in when we're grieving in circumstances like losing a parent, and things like that. And so one thing I noticed is there's a difference in the way that the characters kind of harbor secrets and how they cope with things from 2007 to 2024. So what would you say has changed the most about the sibling dynamics from when we see them in 2007 at the beginning to 2024 when everything is kind of like unraveling?
I think that people just sort of, I think that, or these characters, I'll say, they didn't so much change as they did deepen or harden in some cases into who they were. Um, and so, naturally with age comes more experience. Like we see them all become well, not Addison, but we see them have kids and get married and sort of deal with like hit those sort of milestones in life and how that sort of like informs how you move in the world and how you interact with anyone, but especially your siblings. So yeah, I don't know if there's something that I would say specifically that I can think really changed um, from when we see them in 2007 to then between their dynamic.
I kind of touched on this in the very beginning, but I think wardrobe is also such like an important thing. And one thing I really love about Mariah specifically is she has a different kind of like way of going about the world through her own style and her own fashion. And I'm kind of curious, like, did you put a lot of yourself into that, like her kind of confidence and kind of this like natural like charisma she has? Because I feel like it really translates well in the way that she's like styled and the way she presents herself.
I think that there was like a lot goes into like trying to outfit characters and like have them fit in those worlds. Some things that were both like a help and a hindrance is because we're dealing in wintertime. So you're gonna see these like layers. Um, and I do remember kind of talking about like, oh, she could kind of have like turtlenecks, sort of higher necked things where she's sort of like inaccessible. Like you're not really able to kind of always get to her, and it's a little bit more austere. Um, yeah, that sort of thing. But yeah, it certainly informs, because styling makes so much of, I mean, obviously, like Mariah and I have like very different styles from each other, so it certainly always informs a character when you can get to add those hair, makeup, wardrobe elements.
Yeah, I definitely picked up on that like so fast. But thank you so much. I really loved your performance in this so much. I'm excited for like everyone to see it. Um, Hi guys. It's so nice to talk to you guys. I wanted to say I loved your performances firsthand. Like I first off, both of you guys are just have the best chemistry. And so I kind of want to start off with one thing that I kind of noticed throughout the show is how buildings and sets, whether it's the houses and this like kind of dark academia feeling kind of play this role into the mystery of the show and how each of your characters like interact with each other. Um, and how every character feels like they're all playing a chess game, which is like emphasized with chess. And so I kind of wanted to know, like, when you guys are bouncing off of each other on set, how does things like the set and the blocking of your characters kind of help inform their characters' motivations?
Ooh, yeah. I think I think for me, one of the biggest things that like the sets, the locations is really helped me to get into that world. We play in multiple timelines, and so it can be difficult to try and remember what it was like to be in 2007, or remember what it was like to be in 2000, what was the other time? 15, thank you. And so what really helped with that were the sets, were the different posters and things that they had on the walls, or were the props that they had us holding. We had flip phones and the original iPhone as props and things like that. And also the hair. You'll notice that in multiple timelines, especially my character, I have different lengths of hair, and those different lengths of hair took me back to even times in my own life of what I looked like at that time. So those things really helped me to get into the character of those like time periods for me.
And so, one thing that I also really liked about the show is how power dynamics, not only between siblings, but also an entire family kind of harbor when we're grieving. And so, we split through three different timelines, like 2007, 2015, 2024. There's a difference in the way that the characters harbor secrets from one another and how they like cope with certain circumstances. What would you say has kind of changed the most about your characters' dynamics towards each other throughout the show from when we first see them to when we last see them?
I'd definitely say for Tal, in terms of his historical journey from '07 to present day. When he was younger, as the youngest sibling, he was the butt of every joke. He was the perfunctory, like, you do this because we said so, little brother. And that never changed in terms of the siblings. They still tell him what to do. But what did change is he met someone that saw more in him. So when he first meets Kimmer, she's the one pushing his ambition. His parents also want that for him, but he doesn't know how to follow that on his own. So I think his journey from 2007 to 2024 is almost in service of other people, because he's still like trying to be the respectful son that does things the right way, the honorable husband that does what his wife wants him to do. And as we pick up in the beginning of our story and watch to the end of the season, but from episode 1 to episode 10, he's a completely different person, because so much of his life that was built on what others expected of him has been unraveled.
And I kind of also really wanted to touch on this as well, is because I think that the costumes, especially throughout the show, really informs your characters at different periods of their lives and kind of different stages in their lives. And so I'm curious for both of you guys, like, how did the costumes kind of help create backstory that maybe the audience hasn't seen? And kind of, did you guys add your own experiences or kind of own stories to the characters through your costumes?
Definitely.
Yeah.
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 I was like, okay, he's wearing Timbs. And they were like, yeah, he's wearing Timbs. It's 2007. And I was like, and we're not tying the top. Like, no, you don't tie the top of Timbs. They're like, okay, you can have forces in the past, but you can't have forces now because Tao's not that cool anymore. But he was trying to, like, it was all the things you asked. Costumes were definitely at the forefront of how we tried to tell ourselves where those characters were at that time.
Yeah. And I think for me, more than costumes, it was the hair. So Kimmer's hair in 2007 is really big, free flowing. And then we meet her in 2015 when, and her hair is kind of cut shorter. And then in present day, it's like a pixie, short, angular. And I think it kind of gives a sense of like what joining the Garland family, me and the hair person, Jesse Dean, talked about it, what joining the Garland family did to her and how she felt like in order to belong with this family, this is like the journey she had to take as far as like her look going from free flowing, floaty shirts, things like that to like angular suits, pantsuits, and short pixie cut.
Well, thank you guys so much. I really love talking to y'all and I love hearing about like the intricacies of like your characters. And congratulations on the show.